Hi again, dear ones. So this video is going to be about something that we hear about but is often not explained that well because it can be a little bit of a confusing subject. But if we can understand what the subconscious mind is, how it works, and how we can use it to our benefit, life will never be the same again. My life has changed completely since I've understood this incredibly powerful part of our mind. So what is the subconscious mind? Very simply put, the subconscious mind is whatever is just below conscious awareness. So, what do I mean by that? Right now, I'm consciously aware I'm speaking to you. But all the information I'm sharing with you is coming up from the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is the storehouse of everything we've ever learned. All the information we've ever observed, everything we've learned in school, in our childhood, all our understandings about life, about relationships, about money, about spirituality, all the things we know automatically, how to drive a car, how to get on a bicycle, all the things we don't even need to think about. It comes from the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is like a roadmap, an incredibly complex roadmap that tells us what to do without us even having to think about it. And the conscious mind just fishes information out of there. So as you can imagine, the subconscious mind is very powerful, but we aren't aware of its power because we use it unconsciously, which means unknowingly. So how does this impact our lives is a big question. Well, as I told you, it affects everything from our body chemistry, the way we think, to the partners we select in relationships. So the subconscious mind is very, very powerful. And in relationships, we really want to know how this works, because if we know how it works, we can change the relationships we experience. So here's an example of how the subconscious mind works in relationships. Now, when we're growing up, let's say from about birth to 12 years old, we experience different associations in relationships. So for example, if we have a mother and father and we notice them communicating well, being very loving, being super happy, and being kind and receptive and showing this love to us, then our relationship associations are mostly positive, and we form a relationship template, which is the structure through which we cognitively understand relationships in a positive way. Now, this is a really important thing because this template will be the template we use to bring partners into our lives when we start looking for intimate partners, when we become teenagers, and when we become adults and we want to get into more serious relationships. Now, the problem comes in is when we have negative experiences in childhood. And in America, we have an over 50% divorce rate. It's very, very common for families to split up and for there to be all kinds of difficulties. What happens is the associations that enter the subconscious mind become very negative. So we noticed that mom and dad had broken up and there was a lot of disharmony in the family. There was a lot of emotional upset and withholding and anger and depression. And we saw this as a result of relationships and as a result of love. We automatically develop a negative association to relationships. But the subconscious mind cannot differentiate in this way. It doesn't say this is bad, we're not going to do it. It just says this is what we know, and we may try to avoid it, one, or we may try to repeat it in the future to fix it. So as you can imagine, this is how we get into really difficult relationships. That has been my experience. My parents went through the most chaotic, painful separation and custody battle, and just across two continents between South Africa and here. And at the time I wasn't aware of it, but the information I was assimilating into my subconscious mind about relationships was mostly negative in the relationship between my mom and my dad. So you can see how this can build and build and build until we literally believe that relationships are painful, or relationships result in abandonment, or relationships result in cheating. So these associations kind of seal off around 12 years old, and as we move into becoming a teenager, we begin to select partners through our conscious mind that meet our subconscious associations about relationships. So you can kind of see how this begins to play out. So for example, I would choose people that were emotionally unavailable. I would feel attracted to them because it matched my pattern that relationships or men in relationships are emotionally unavailable. Or I was emotionally unavailable to people that were emotionally unavailable. So I could keep playing out my subconscious pattern, and that met my template. And the more it met the template, the more I thought it was true. So the subconscious mind keeps reinforcing itself by drawing out experiences from reality and saying, see, look, this is how relationships are. And this is why we get so stuck in the idea that there's no way I could get in a good relationship, it never works. But that's not true. We just have to change the underlying structure. So how do we do this? This sounds like a really big feat, and it actually isn't. If we work with things like hypnotherapy, now hypnotherapy very simply is just a form of deep guided meditation where we're able to access these parts of our mind that are kind of repressed and pushed down and slowly work on changing them, changing the associations, making our associations more positive, creating more suggestive ideas and new ways of thinking about relationships. So that's one method. We can also do it by becoming aware of our negative associations. So we could easily just do an exercise, which I've done many times, which I share with my clients, is what beliefs am I holding? What associations am I holding? So we want to change those beliefs. So how do we do this? So we think of a subject like relationships. And then off the bat, we just go for 10 to 20 keywords about what automatically comes to mind when we think relationships. And somewhere along the line, you'll find those negative associations. Like you may find pain, abandonment, fear, loss. Those are some things that might come up for you. The next thing we do is we take those associations and we turn them into beliefs. So I believe relationships are painful if one of your associations was pain. And then we go on to dispute. Now, is it really true that all relationships are painful? Or was the relationship I witnessed painful because both partners or my parents entered in unconsciously so when they were playing out their patterns? So can I find examples of relationships that aren't painful? Are there people that are in love and happy? So we dispute that, and that's a cognitive dispute. We're trying to change our thinking. Okay, so once we can prove that to ourselves, that relationships don't have to be painful, it's just a way of thinking about them, and just because we were conditioned to believe it doesn't mean it's true. We can move on to the next phase. And this is important. This is where we say, okay, I used to believe relationships are painful. And subconsciously, because that was known to me, that was pleasurable. That meant pleasurable just means safe. It kept me safe because I know it. And it is unknown to say that relationships are good for me, or they're kind, or they're loving, because that's scary, because I've never experienced that before. But now we change the association. So we say, I now choose to believe that relationships are loving, they are kind, they are devoted, they are supportive. So we change our association by changing our belief system. And we keep saying that affirmation to ourselves, and we keep releasing the other. Okay? And then the last part of this is we do a quick visualization. Okay? So just go ahead, close your eyes, take in 3 deep breaths, long, luxuriating breaths, and feel like they're relaxing your body deeply on each count. 1, 2, 3. Now with eyes closed, just imagine a beautiful white wall. There's nothing on this wall. And on this wall, we're going to go project the old belief system in black writing. And this says, relationships are painful. Okay, so imagine that being written across the wall. Now the next thing we're going to do is bring up all the negative associations with that belief system. So all the negative feelings that come up with. And as you do, raise up your right index finger, bring up those emotions very, very strongly. And we're going to go ahead now, when I click my finger, release it. Bring the finger down, exhale. And as you exhale, imagine white light clearing the black writing off the wall completely. And if the writing's still there, bring that finger up again and bring up all those negative emotions and Release it. Exhale, white light completely clearing that belief system from your mind. And now what we're going to do is let's think of the new belief system. Imagine what that would look like to be in a loving relationships, and we say relationships are loving, kind, and supportive. And let's write that in beautiful gold writing across the wall. And let's just take that into the subconscious mind as your new association. Imagine it moving into your mind and down into your heart, and let it go into the deepest part of your heart, and now accept that as your new association. So that's a little visualization that we can do to change your beliefs, and the more you do it on your own, the more powerful your new association will become. So I really thank you for sharing this time with me, and the first exercise we did today is going to be very helpful in making any changes that you want to make to your life. So I'll see you on the next episode, and until then, namaste. I wish you a beautiful day.